it may be appropriate sometimes to actually double the scale. It won't be for this drawing, but if you did, instead of a half, the bigger numbers in the front when you're making the scale bigger. Okay, so that's 2 to 1. Of course, that's way too big for this one, but that's the purpose of the viewport, and that's the reason why we put um, our um, uh, our drawing in model space and our title block in paper space. Okay, um, and if you need to center it, again, you can double click in the viewport. You can move it around. Okay, I will tell you that, let's say that your drawing was, when you double click in the viewport, your drawing is way over here. Okay, one thing that you can do to get started is type Z enter E enter. Okay, that's zoom extents, and that should center up your drawing for you. Okay, or get it pretty close. So that can be pretty handy. Um, so let's demonstrate that. Okay, so I don't see it. So Z enter E enter, and it pulled it into the draw. For some reason it didn't center it. That's something it used to do. But anyway, no big deal. You can get it centered up the best you can, and um, you know, working with the appropriate scale is something that you'll have to work with, and you'll figure out what you need over time. But as a general rule, you want the drawing to be as large as it can while staying inside your viewport, and you also want to use one of these standard scales always. Okay, so ours would be probably for this one like 1/2. Okay, half scale. Once you get done with that, you want to lock the viewport. Okay, like right now, if I were to double click in the viewport, I can move it around, I can change the scale, all things I don't want to do once I get everything set up. And once you get everything like you want it, you can click on the viewport and then you simply lock it. Okay, so now if I get into model space, I can still get into model space, but I can't move the drawing around. When I try to move it, it moves the entire thing. Now, if I wanted to actually draw through there, you can, but I really don't recommend it. I recommend that you do all your drawing over here in model space, and that way everything will work out appropriately. So that circle is not part of your submission, so I'm going to take that out. The last thing we need to do is to do your page setup. This is for printing, so type page setup, and layout 1 is fine. You can do that to both layouts, but your title block is on layout 1, so this is really all we need to do. Just go to modify, and after you click modify, just come up here to the drop down box and select a printer plotter. Now you can, if you're working from home, you can select a whatever your printer might be that's installed, or if you're on campus, the current printer is this one. Okay, but printers die, they get moved, so on and so forth. So just for consistency, let's use DWG to PDF, and as long as you have an Adobe Acrobat Reader, you'll be able to open these files. But just go ahead and make that DWG to PDF, and then under paper size, you can choose ANSI Expand A. That's fine. That's 8.5 by 11, which is what an A-size sheet is, which is the type template that we're creating is an A-size sheet. And you can do a preview at this point, and see what your printout is going to look like. Okay, this is what it's going to look like when it prints. I think instead of layout, though, I'm going to switch this to extents so I can get the center plot area. Just make sure that the scale here is 1 to 1, 1 inch equals 1 unit. And let's do another preview. Okay, so now our border is actually more centered up. Now if we had a drawing that we had drawn in model space and we had centered the drawing in the viewport, so on and so forth, you would see the drawing inside this area. I was just wanting to get an idea of how the actual title block centered up in our page setup here. So let me close the preview window again. Also, by the way, you can the layers were created in color, which is what displays when it prints. More often than not, in practice, you'll see this monochrome. Okay, just so I can show you what that looks like. You can see it show up there in black and white. So that's a setting that you can change later on if you like. So I'll just go ahead and leave that at none, and I think that should be plot with plot styles, and I think all these other settings are actually correct. So that is how you set up the page, and then you can just close that out, and that is your completed template. So when you start a new drawing from now on, unless I supply you one, I may supply you one just for consistency. But if I don't specify a template for you to use to start a new drawing, you'll use this template to start it off. And that concludes this video.